Welcome back, guys. So a new Redfin article stating investor home purchases plateau after a pandemic era roller coaster ride. And man, that could not be more accurate. Out in Gilchrist Park today, as you guys can see by the boats that are still behind me, they're going to be here just for a little while, I think, as they try to sort out how to get them out of here, how to get people to come and get them. But wanted to discuss this because it's almost shocking to some people in Southwest Florida when I tell them there's really not been a lot of investor activity here either for the better part of a year and a half at this point. This article specifically targets Florida, saying that investor purchases have dropped by double digits in the previous year, going from quarter 3 of 24 back to quarter 3 of 23. But I also feel like I just made this video last year because last fall I was already telling people, guys, we're seeing a huge investor pullback here in my area, Southwest Florida. It's going to lead to massive inventory buildup because that was so much of our buying populace. And here I am again. And now apparently it's getting even worse. It's continuing on. So that is also helping our inventory to continue to rise because a large segment of the purchasers are no longer playing ball. Couple that with first-time homebuyers really can't play ball up until recently, so your demand goes down. So when they broke it down by property type, investor purchases of condos fell the most at 11% nationwide, but they did attribute that mainly to an investor sales drop of condos here in Florida. And generally, condos had not been viewed as really a sound real estate investment. I mean, personal use, great, but to rent them out or to even flip them, it wasn't very favorable. What happened was we had such a rush of people come here when we were the only state open. And you guys probably know one or two of these people who saw easy money. They saw videos on the internet that you can come to Florida, you can buy a single family home, you can Airbnb it for thousands a month, and if not, you can rent it for thousands a month. And people really thought it was that simple and that everything was going to eternally cash flow. So we had a lot of not just, seasoned investors, amateur investors come down here and purchase 2, 3 homes sometimes. Not always with cash either, guys. Some of these were leveraged, which it put them in a really bad situation. That market not only knocked out home buyers locally, it was knocking out home buyers who were coming from other states. Single family went on fire. So what investors started to do here, which I don't think was a very great idea, was pivot to the condo and townhome market. And they started buying condos and townhomes as investments. When you take a look at somewhere like Welland Park, even Waterford here in Punta Gorda, Heritage Landing, pretty much anything up and down the Southwest coast that had a townhouse or a condo for sale around 300 to 400 grand got snatched up immediately. And people intended to rent it for big money. For one season, that worked out pretty good. Last year, they started finding out, this isn't the cash flow I thought it was, and I'm not making the money that I need to be, especially when it's a condo or townhome and you have HOA fees that are very unpredictable right now. Insurance, we all know what's happened with that. Out of nowhere, even if you were making a profit, that can get eaten away with one assessment for the year. Never mind if something in the unit breaks and the tenant needs it fixed. If you have one assessment, it could wipe away an entire year's profits. So they were always risky, but it got so competitive in single family that that's what a lot of people did, which is another reason you'll see a ton of condos bought in the past 2 years on the market now because they did not work out as investments for these people. What is surprising these sellers is that nobody wants to come in and hold their bag. They're going, wait a second, there should be other investors who want to come in and purchase these. But lo and behold, when it's not raining helicopter money from the sky and we're not all getting stimmies and things like that, the demand, what a shocker, is actually quite lower. And that was the realization last year. This year, it's much worse. So the people who held out last year and said, okay, I'm going to try to get through season, I'm going to try to sell this for top dollar, found out really quickly that they couldn't do that because of the condo landscape. And now, as I've mentioned to you guys this year, it's an even worse seasonal market than it was last year. Last year was okay. People were just getting people. Oh, hello. Hi. You startled me. It's a good guard dog. Oof, shook me off my game there. It came in hot. So So last season, people were just putting anyone in these units they could to get some sort of cash flow, even if it was negative. We talked about negative cash flow a lot down here last year, just to keep them going. But now they can't get the units filled, and they're dropping prices, and no one's taking them even at lowered prices. So I think we're going to see another condo, townhome inventory influx down here, potentially across the entire state. And that's coming into January. And I think, unfortunately, these people are going to find that there is nobody here to purchase these. There are no other investors that want to take this on right now when we have such an oversaturated rental market on top of everything else. We have an oversaturated rental market. We have an oversaturated for sale market. We have an oversaturated seasonal rental market. And that's across all property types, guys. So I don't think anyone's coming to the rescue, unfortunately, for these properties. And I think we're going to see a lot of them hit the market here in the spring. Not even, on top of everyone who's like, hey, I'm done with the hurricanes. Hey, I don't want to pay these insurance rates anymore. We have another subset coming to market in amateur investors or, seasoned investors that are like, it's not going to work out. When you take a look at investing in real estate, people generally want to see the 1% rule. And what the 1% rule is, basically states that whatever you purchase a property for, it needs to rent out for 1% of that purchase price per month. That's a very simple way of looking at it. Well, we have $300,000 condos. I mean, go look at Taylor Morrison here at Bella Via in Port Charlotte. They bought $300,000 condos, brand new, and there's no way in hell they're going to rent those for $3,000 a month. They can't even get $2,000 a month. There's a couple of them up for $2,000. They can't attain that. So what's that condo worth to an investor? Let's flip the same reasoning onto single family, which is why I don't think investors are going to be coming in, scooping up single family. I showed you guys new construction basically a week ago. You can buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house for about $315,000 in Northport. Is that house going to rent for $3,100? No, not even close. It may rent for $1,850. It may rent for $19,000, but even that is starting to get hard to attain. So from an investor standpoint, from a cap rate standpoint, what's the value of that property? Is it $185,000? If it will rent for $1,800, that's what an investor is going to want to pick it up for. Nowhere near the asking prices of $315,000. So I don't think investors will be back anytime soon, guys, unless it's for flood damaged houses like this. This is actually all opened up. You can see you probably can't see, but the drywall's torn out in there. They're airing it out. The flood damaged homes, investors are coming in and they're purchasing them rapidly because they can get them for a good price and they can flip them, or if at the price they can get them at and then do the work themselves, the rent might make sense. And then they're almost like shadow flood sales, like this one I'll show you here. Okay, guys, so when I say shadow flood sales, this is what I mean. Take a look at this house down on Vasco Street in Punta Gorda. It's a 2-bed, 1.5 bath, 1,400 square feet. Just sold for $85,000. Now, I may be incorrect on this, but you guys let me know what you think. Was this a shadow flood damaged home? There is no indication that this home was submerged in any of the photos, in any of the realtor remarks, in anything you would see on the MLS. This is how the home shows. Perfectly fine. I was on this street when Milton and Helene were here, so I know that this street was underwater. Do I know if this exact home was underwater? No, not for certain, but I have my suspicions. So you see something like this, and it's an $88,000 sale. And I bet some of you guys are going to go, that's what it should sell for. But let's see what it was originally listed for. So by Realtor.com's estimate, this house should have sold somewhere in the very low 200s, potentially just under. But as we know, it sold for $85,000, was listed for $219,000. That's a $134,000 miss off the asking price, or a 60% haircut. So again, guys, I don't know for certain that this house flooded, but it was in one of the areas that flooded. I had videos down Vasco Street. I was going through here off Rio. I live right near this area. This was inundated by water. Can I say for sure? No, but that's what I mean by you're going to have these shadow flood sales, and someone's going to look at this house that sold for $85,000 and not think about the fact that, hey, what went on here? I would almost throw this out in any comps that I had, because It just doesn't make sense. It would have made a great price drop video for you guys, but I just have suspicions that this thing was underwater. Let me know what you think below. So one unfortunate consequence of investors wanting the best bang for their buck, and that's how you run a business, is that Redfin is reporting, broken down by price, low-priced homes made up the lion's share of investor purchases nationwide, and that's sort of how it's always been. Unfortunately, that puts them at odds with first-time home buyers, people who want to live in these homes, which is unfortunate. But you got to go after the lower-priced homes. They're the only ones who are going to cash flow properly or meet your rent requirements right now. Not just here, really, guys. Nationwide, rents have stabilized nationwide. They are not decreasing massively. They have here in Southwest Florida. In fact, I saw this coming last year. I put this video up that our rental market was basically going to melt down. And for the most part, I feel like I've kind of nailed it. Another strange anomaly is when all of this mania was going on, we saw investors who, according to Redfin and Reason, typically like to buy lower price homes, flood into the luxury market all over Punta Gorda Isles. I mean, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 houses that people purchased and thought they were going to Airbnb or rent out for $20,000 a month. And I was just like, blew me away. Those have, which is another reason some of PGI's inventory is so high. But it didn't happen just here. I mean, go up to Lakewood Ranch and your $1 million properties that people thought they were going to rent seasonally to I don't know who. And it seems like maybe they had one good season. Same thing down here. Like 23 was okay. 22, it got rented immediately because everyone wanted to get away from everywhere else in the country and come here for any price. But then 23 was abysmal. 24, even worse. 25 is looking terrible. And you'll see $1 million homes that were investment properties. Not near the beach, sitting in Lakewood Ranch, like in one of the communities. Blows me away. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, guys, but if you are looking to offload an investment property, it's going to be extremely difficult. Any property, if it already has tenants in it. I unfortunately had to have this conversation with a friend from the channel the other day where they were considering selling some properties they bought as investments. I thought the rent they were getting was absolutely phenomenal for right now. And they wanted to potentially list them with the tenants in it. There is no, aside from a 4-lane highway in the backyard, guys, there's no larger obstacle I can imagine. Maybe throw a converted garage in there. I don't like converted garages, but there's no larger obstacle I can imagine than trying to sell a home with tenants in it when there's no investor activity and there's so many other options to choose from. Why would someone want to purchase a home for the same price with tenants that they could buy without? Potentially brand new, and then not have to deal with having an eviction or God knows what at that point. It is extremely hard, even in a fabulous market, to sell properties that are tenant occupied. This is wild, guys. This is where I started one of my other videos. This was the YMCA. As you can see, it's now gone. Looks like they're, I don't know what they're doing, grinding the floor down or roughing in some plumbing. And then, one of our boats over there again. Crazy to see that building's just absolutely gone, but it's the circle of life. You know, they'll do something else with it. It'll come back anew, and who knows. All right, guys, that is all I've got for today. If you like this video, give me a like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.